The copy feature, available in Foundant's Standard Plus 2 and Advanced licenses, allows administrators and applicants to copy applications from one process to another. The tool was designed to let administrators decide how and when it can be used. This means it can be used to set up and support different tasks, such as allowing scholarship applicants to apply to multiple scholarships while only having to enter the same information once, speeding up the time it takes administrators to enter grants or scholarships manually, speeding up the time it takes applicants to complete renewal applications, approving grants based on a letter of inquiry, effectively skipping the application stage, creating 2 or more processes that branch from a single LOI or application, so administrators can review an LOI or application and decide which process it belongs in. We'll look at some of these examples in a minute, but if you have questions about how you could use the copy feature, you should reach out to your client success manager who can talk about it in more detail. First, let's see how the feature can be used to allow scholarship applicants to apply to multiple scholarships while only having to enter their information one time. Imagine that I'm a student about to start a scholarship application on a site where I've already started a draft or I've even submitted a full application. As is common for organizations that offer multiple scholarships, there will likely be many of the same questions on this application that were on my previous application. And the administrator on this site has configured this process to allow me to copy my previous answers. As an applicant, all I need to do to copy my previous answers is click the Copy Previous Answers button that appears in the top right corner of the new application. When I do this, it brings up a list of all of my previous applications. I can see the process name, the identifier I gave that application, the number of questions that appear in both applications. That number, 13 matching answers, tells me that there are 13 questions on this current application that I've already filled out for my past application. I also see when I created that last request. These last 2 pieces of information allow me to figure out if I had a long list of previous applications, which one is most relevant in this situation. So I select from potentially a long list the application I want to copy, and then I click Copy Answers. There is an information box that pops up, and then the system copies all 13 of those questions. This is going to include text, dates, drop-down, or radio button questions, as well as any file attachments that I've uploaded, and if, in the case of a third party, the third party or person providing the recommendation has provided a recommendation or uploaded a transcript, those would be copied as well. Note, though, that there are some questions on this application that were not on the previous application. This essay about leadership experience wasn't on the first application, but it's on the second one, so I'll need to complete that before I can submit this. The administrator on this site has also set it up so that the electronic signature that I put on the application the first time does not copy to the second application. So they're requiring me to sign both applications, even though I'm able to move over the rest of the information that appears in both places. The effect of this is to allow applicants who are applying for multiple scholarships to upload their transcript once, to enter their GPA, even fill out an essay once, and use that same information on multiple applications, saving them time. Now, let's look at how the tool can be used to help speed up the time it takes administrators to enter a grant manually. This could be used for grants or scholarships. But in this example, let's assume that my organization makes an annual grant to the ALS Foundation. You know it's very easy to find the ALS Foundation in my list of organizations and to identify the annual grant. Here is the 2017 annual grant. Clicking into the project or the request summary, you'll see the Copy Request button. I click Copy Request, and I can choose which process I'd like to copy the request into. In this case, I'm going to copy it into the 2018 Family Foundation Grants process. Doing that copies all of the information I entered last year into my application for this year. And so now, when I look at the organization, you'll see that I have a 2018 annual gift that I can go ahead and approve. In the same way that the copy feature can make it easier for administrators to manually enter a grant, the feature can make it easier for applicants to renew or complete applications again. Let's imagine that I'm the applicant with the ALS Foundation applying for an annual grant. I see the entire application, and it's the same one I filled out last year. I'm able to click Copy Previous Answers and copy all of the answers that I provided on my application last year, including all of the uploads I uploaded last year. And before I submit the grant, I can make changes to any of this. Just like with every other use of the feature, administrators can determine which fields are copied and which ones are not. So if the administrator didn't want uploads or a purpose or any other question to be copied from one year to the next, the administrator could configure the processes so that that particular question couldn't be copied. I can also use the copy feature to approve a grant from the letter of intent or letter of inquiry stage. Imagine that I'm reviewing a letter of inquiry or letter of intent, an LOI, that I'd like to approve. In the past, I would have to ask an applicant to complete an application. Now, with the copy feature, I still need an application, but I can create that application on my applicant's behalf. To do this, I need to go to the request summary for that request, and you'll see I've configured the processes so the copy request button shows up. As an administrator, I press copy request, pick the process I want to copy into. In this case, I have a process called fast track approval. That's going to copy all of the information from the letter of inquiry that came in to the application in my fast track process. I now need to log in as the applicant. You'll see when I log in as the applicant, here is a draft application in that fast track process, and as an applicant, I can submit the application like I normally would. Upon submitting the application, I log out as the applicant and log back in as an administrator and go through my normal approval workflow, thus allowing me to approve the LOI without asking the applicant to come back into the system. Finally, we can use the copy feature to route an LOI that came in to the appropriate application in different processes. Imagine that I'm reviewing a letter of inquiry. I've marked it as complete, and now from the request summary page, I can click Copy Request and move this LOI into any number of processes. I might have a process for letters of inquiry that need a longer application. Or maybe I have a process with forms set up for a site visit. I can copy this letter of inquiry or an application into the proper process, the one that makes sense, using the copy feature. In this case, I'll copy it into the site visit process and move it in as a submitted form so that I can go right on to the site visit. The copy feature is available in Foundant's Standard Plus 2 and Advanced licenses. Your Client Success Manager would be happy to talk to you about ways you can use the feature, including adapting any of the workflows in this video to meet your specific needs.